everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. So I am currently away, hence my different background for the day, but I figured I need to quick film this November wrap up because this month is going to be hectic and I'm just not going to have a lot of time, and I kind of want to get it out in the beginning of the month. So I actually had one of my better reading months in November. Of course, life was crazy and I did have a little bit more time for reading, and even though I didn't read like probably nearly as much as you expect for somebody who had like more time on their hands, but I had better reading, which was a good thing because I was going like months of not being able to find like a 5-star. And so I read some good stuff. Let's get into it. So I read 2 books by Dorothy H. Price. One was Baking Buddies and the other was Sharing the Mound. So in Baking Buddies, we follow JC. He's being babysat by Pop-Up. He wants to make cupcakes. His little sister is like crying and fussing, so it's delaying him being able to make cupcakes. And then Sharing the Mound, he joined the community baseball team and he really wants to show off his skills, but everybody has to have a chance at trying each position. So this is a part of a beginner chapter book series for kids who are independently reading. I am reading a lot of chapter book series this year, like I've talked about like a couple of times, because of the kids. Finding books for them is so hard to find books on their reading level, and I also just want to be able to use my platform to recommend books for people who are having trouble finding books for their kids as well. So when I see chapter books that have black and brown kids at the forefront, I've been trying to pick them up and read them, and then I also share them with the children in my life. So we sit and read these books together. So I finally read Thieves Gambit by Kavion Lewis, and I actually don't know what took me so long to read it because it was really good. I had a good time with this one, especially since it's a premise that a lot of people have been doing something similar, like it's the trial heist type of situation. So in Thieves Gambit, we follow Ross Quest. She's a part of this family of thieves, but she wants out of the family business, and so the night of a big heist that she and her mom were planning, she's supposed to just dip out and leave her mom a note. Well, something goes wrong and her mom ends up captured and held for ransom, and then Ross has to join the Thieves Gambit, which is this international heist competition where the best of the best are competing for millions of dollars. And this one was a good time. Like, for one, it was a heist story with an actual heist. After reading Six of Crows, where it felt like nothing was happening the entire book, I was really glad to read this one, and it had a unique cast of characters, and overall it was just a good time. I definitely recommend it. I'm surprised I haven't heard more people talking about this one. I'm also surprised Penguin Teen isn't pushing this one a lot. Like, I feel like they gave it very little promotion compared to some of the other fall YA they were anticipating, even though this was supposed to be one of their most anticipated releases of the fall. Like, this went for a huge auction. This had either a TV or a movie deal like a couple of years in advance, which, I mean, is very common for the rights to be sold well in advance of release of the book, but like, it was a big hype thing, so I'm just surprised they didn't really promote this one. It is not a debut. Kavion Lewis did have a debut with a smaller press, a book called The Half Cast or Class, or I'll have to put the cover up. I do have her other book on my Kindle. I had gotten it, I think it was like a 99-cent deal. So that reading this one was so good, it actually makes me want to go and read that one sooner. And I read 2 picture books. So I read La Noche Before Three Kings Day by Sheila Bagley-Cologne, and that one I talked about on my Instagram. It was just a cute book chronicling this family celebrating Three Kings Day, which is in different Latin American cultures a huge deal, especially for Catholics. I grew up in the Catholic Church, so it was also like a pretty big deal. And for us, it marked like the end of the Christmas season. I also read Countdown to Christmas by Nikki Shannon Smith. And Countdown to Christmas was just, I read it, it was a board book, and it followed a black family that was counting down to the Christmas celebration. So it was just really cute for the babies. I finally read Neverwraith, which is one that I really wanted to read, that I heard about like right before it came out, so I didn't have time to read it in advance. I was lucky enough to get a free copy from Entangled Publishing, and like I said, I really did want to read it before the end of the year, so I made that happen last month. And I'm glad I read it because it had a lot of the things that I've really been looking for in YA. So first of all, they actually felt like teens, which was so refreshing because I feel like a lot of YA lately, they don't feel like teens. Like they feel too immature to be adults, but at the same time they feel 30. It's like this weird mix. And I know a lot of people are making an excuse, well, we don't have new adult. I don't believe new adult needs to be a thing because I just believe like you don't need to say that younger adults need a more dumbed down version of adult books. I know a lot of people disagree with me, argue with your mom, but I find that there are a lot of books that are put in YA that just feel like they were written down, and like they're on one hand they are too long, they have too much, they are too wordy, and the characters feel really old, but at the same time it feels like they're kind of talking down to the audience as if teens are stupid and can't comprehend things. So it's nice to read a book that doesn't treat the audience like they're dumb, and also that feels like it was written for them, like it uses language that they would be able to relate to. There are some pop cultural references, and like I said, they just feel like real teen characters. So Neverwraith is cool because it is kind of like Incredible Hulk-ish, except black teen. This boy moves from Atlanta to this smaller Georgia town, and he's just trying to fit in, but he's having a little bit of trouble like with one of like the popular boys in the town who plays for the football team. It's the South, so you know football's huge, and he's trying to figure out these weird powers that he has while also dealing with this connection he has with this girl at his school. Like they have this really strong connection to each other, so they start to figure out what their connection is to each other, and he starts to manifest these powers, and it's just a really interesting urban fantasy series. It kind of checked my boxes for what I love in urban fantasy, and it was pretty fun. So I liked the mix of like superhero style story, but then there's like a little bit of like African fantasy, and it was really good. I really enjoyed Neverwraith. I think it just had like a little bit of everything. And I read One Night, One Bite. Everybody loved this one. This one is by Drea Anderson, and I have to say, like, this one was just okay for me. Like, it's a very short one, which I appreciated, but at the same time, the couple in it didn't fully click for me. So it's a fated mates type of situation where they like meet at this vampire club and then just like quickly moves from there. And I think if it was a little bit longer, I could feel more of the romance for them. For me, this was more like erotica, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like it was being sold as like a romantic story, and it's fated mates, so we're supposed to believe that these people are destined for each other, and I just didn't feel as strong of a connection there. So I read Four Parties and a Funeral by Maria Rico. I love this cozy mystery series. It's a lot of fun. So it's a part of the Catering Hall mystery series, and this was the most recent book. I think there's a book coming out early next year, but this one was another fun one. So it kind of pokes fun at like those reality shows in this one, like the Real Housewives of New Jersey and Mob Wives and Jersey Shore, like all wrapped together as these mobster children are starring on this reality show. And of course, you know, drama ensues, somebody ends up murdered, and Mia, whose family runs the catering hall, is actually catering like the craft services for this show. One of her good friends is on the show and she has to clear his name. Like, one of the things I love about this series is it's just so fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I love the interactions between this family. So I read The Vanished Tide by A.J. Locke. This is the second book in the Contained Risk series, which is a black urban fantasy series. So in The Vanished Witch, we follow Katane. She has vanished her boyfriend, Eric, and she is struggling for that, and she ends up in this, accidentally vanishing herself and ending up in this world called Elsewhere, which is where all things go that have been vanished. In book 2, she's dealing with the aftermath of the events of book 1, so I don't want to get too much into it because I know some people haven't read The Vanished Witch yet, but this was a pretty solid sequel. I didn't love it as much as book 1, but it was still pretty enjoyable, and I like where this series is going. I wanted a little bit more on the romance front. There was just a little bit more romance in book 1. This one really was more like, definitely like solidly urban fantasy. It was focusing on building the world. It was focusing on explaining the powers. It was focusing on the connection between Katane and her family. So I'm curious to see where things go in book 3 because it left off at a place where a lot of stuff can happen. And then I read a romance for Thanksgiving, which was Thankful for the Maverick by Rochelle Allers. That one was another solid one. It was cute and really what I needed at the time. Like, I wanted just a sweet small town romance. So in that one, we are following a rancher and a rodeo star, and the rancher is basically like, oh my gosh, she is too young for me, even though I think they're like 13 years apart. And she, like, with the rodeo star, she has dated a couple of men and hadn't had her heart broken, so she's not fully sure if she wants to get into a regular relationship again. Rancher, he had his heart broken too after a bad marriage, so they're kind of trying to figure out what they really want in life, if they want to pursue a relationship. And like I said, it's set around Thanksgiving, which was pretty unique because most of the books, like, time you'll read a book and they'll go right to Christmas. We usually don't see it mostly centered around the Thanksgiving holiday. Of course, we're following like the holiday prep and stuff, but it's really just like about these two coming together. And then I did a reread because I am currently working on writing my own Christmas romance, so I was really in the mood to read a Christmas romance that just gave me all the feels. So I read My Only Christmas Wish by J.M. Jeffries, and I love this one because it's set at this huge like luxury department store, and it follows this woman named Darcy. Her mom sold the company to one of her father's, like the son of her father's rival, and he's coming in and he kind of runs his empire like Walmart, where there's like just no regard for his employees, and he wants to come in and just like reduce costs, and she's like, absolutely not, you're not going to ruin my store and everything that I've done to build it up. And it's just a fun, sweet Christmas romance, actual Christmas romance, because I find like sometimes when I pick up romances that are set around Christmas, there's barely any Christmas in them. This one had just enough for me without being too overwhelming. Like, they are following like the day-to-day in this retail environment during the holiday season. So if you've ever worked retail, especially if you worked at a department store, you know how it is. I have, so this was definitely relatable to me, but I also just enjoy the romance and how like the opposites attracted into something really sweet and cute. So that was everything that I read during the month of November. Like I said, it was a much better reading month for me than I've had the past couple of years, and I'm hoping I can continue that momentum into December. So let me know if any of these books sounded interesting to you, and if you liked this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching, and I will check with you guys later. Bye!